Hey leaders, Tom Miller here. Just wanted to, I got a lot on my mind. I got a lot on my mind. And I wasn't able to go live this month with our high performance coaching session. We got some really great things happening at our school. But just wanted to kind of share these 9 or 10 questions that I'm asking myself. And then I'm going to point you to some resources that you have access to in our programs. So I haven't been sleeping a lot lately. I think my mind is just really full, right? So I think it's really important that when you can't get sleep, right, or something's happening in your life, that you find a way to get through it, right? So I typically wake up. I wake up and I get my journal. I just start writing stuff down, right? It helps get things out, and I can start kind of taking all those notes and messes and be like, okay, what is this? How do I start to unpack this into some sort of framework, right? So you as an instructional leader, this is just one way, one strategy that I use, right? And I also make sure I'm taking care of myself and having those conversations. But so here are those notes actually, and I'm going to make sure that I put them in a format where you can actually download and play around with them. But so the first question I'm asking is how are we tracking, right? And we set some goals at the start of the year. How are we tracking? What are we doing to accelerate and align our resources to ensure that we're on track for the next 18 months, right? Because remember, a leader has to be microscopic on the now, but telescopic on the future. Okay, so just be making sure that you're really paying attention to the things I put in play now. It doesn't mean you stop everything you're doing and rebuild. I mean, you may have to some of these pieces, but just do I have the data in front of me to tell me how I'm tracking, right? Which is really, really, really important. So, and it's really going to help you answer the question: what does school improvement, short and long term, look like in October? So these are just some of the pieces. So culture and health, school culture and health. The newness of the school year is starting to wean away, right? And you're probably starting to see it. You're having people take off. You're having kids' attendance issues. You're having fall break. You're having behaviors, right? These are the things that are happening. So what change in the climate can we make to boost the morale, the energy, and support people, right? How do we, do that? So maybe you've got some pep rallies coming up. Maybe you've got some homecoming events, right? You just want to make sure that it's your job to pay. You're responsible for the culture. If you're the head of your organization, you are fully responsible for the culture in your organization. So I would want to make sure that you've got your pulse on it. You can feel, you're tracking data, you're checking in with people on a daily basis. Go back to those things that you maybe set in play, right? So for me, it was our marshmallow, right? How well is our marshmallow tracking? So I keep these marshmallows up in front of me, and I'm always talking to our folks about their marshmallow. In fact, it's a really good reminder. I'm gonna put a marshmallow out, this week, and just kind of remind everybody, right? How are we tracking on our marshmallow? So that's one thing. Culture and health. We've got some resources, some school culture resources. There's a whole design kit that are in your blueprint for success program. If you're part of our inner circle, you have access to that. Goals, right? How are we tracking based upon the goals we set academically, financially, and operationally? What's been our progress? Are we aligned to make those goals? What needs more of my time? What needs less of my time? Who's in charge of those goals? Do they know they're in charge of those goals? Right? Just making sure that everybody's clear on the goal that we are trying to achieve for the year. And in turn, everybody needs to know the strategy to get to that goal, right? So what's the goal? What are the indicators of that goal success that we've put in play? How often am I looking at them? How often are we talking about them as a team? Those results, right? And who's not overseeing, but who's implementing, who's overseeing the implementation of each of those strategies, to get there, and how do I help them, and how do I get to that piece? Okay. Third one is time and resources. What needs more time? What is stealing your time? Right? What do you need to actually maybe physically put in your calendar? It's something our team talked about last week. I need to actually physically put things on our calendar to block them away from our team. Like strategy sessions and professional development sessions. I mean, just really important pieces that are going to grow your team. They got to be put in your calendar. And even if you don't use them, that's okay. But at least everybody knows that, block them until told otherwise. And what is stealing your time, right? If you can, journal down, or maybe use our 15-minute miracle tool, right? And you're just like noting how you're spending your time in 15-minute chunks, and then you can start to see what the heck is stealing my time. So those are fires that need to be resolved. Communication. What needs better communication, right? What needs more communication? And how would I know, right? You'll know by things not being done. You'll know by, people doing something the opposite, right? You'll know by, people being confused or asking a lot of questions, right? Maybe you need to do a survey to your families. What are some things that need more of you, right? More communication, better communication, sharper communication. And maybe it's just even less communication. Maybe it's more bolded communication versus long emails. Maybe it's using Loom to create a video versus long memos. Whatever it may be. Okay, look at your communication strategy. What's coming up over the next 3 to 6 months that we're not fully prepared for? That's a big one, right? So if I'm pulling out maybe my checklist, right? So it's October now, like I'm thinking like March, is that EOG time, right? That's, hiring time. That's next year's budget time. That's next year's planning time. What are all the things that we need to get ready for in the spring so we'll be ready for next year? That's one of the questions that's going to be on here. We got 2 strategy sections I just noticed, but what, how did last spring prepare me for this fall? It's a great question. How did last spring prepare me for this fall? I'm going to write it down because I want to keep that in the forefront. Spring to fall, right? So what did I do last spring that prepared me for this fall? And what did I not do last spring? Now I'm not prepared for this fall. So looking at your current reality, be like, because we didn't do a heavy recruitment of teachers, we're short. Or because we didn't prepare more subs, we're short. Or because we didn't market effectively, we lost kids. I mean, whatever it may be, okay? These are all really important questions. And what needs to be different tomorrow that's not true today for us to achieve it? Maybe you're missing a resource. Maybe you're missing a person. Maybe you're missing a skill set. Maybe, again, it goes back to the time, whatever those things may be. The other strategy section is what models of success can we see or point to for our learning purposes? Anything we've done for years that we need to stop doing now, right? Because it's taking too much time or too much of our resources, right? And how do we need to prep differently this winter and this spring for next fall? And lastly, people development, right? Are we providing weekly effective feedback to direct reports? Have I put the right people in the right positions? Who needs higher level work? Who needs more focus, right? Am I bringing people in the room to catch those higher levels of leadership and development, right? Those vision carriers and vision casters of succession. Like, what am I doing to prepare people, and how are we sharpening tools? Those sessions we did over the summertime, right? Do they need a refresher, right? Am I sharpening the saw in terms of new instructional practices or whatever I had initially put in place, or am I falling back into bad habits, right? So here's what 1, 3, it's six different sessions. Print this out, sit down with your team, make sure you pull out your quarterly principle checklist, and you really start working on some of these pieces, all right? And let's talk about them during our next live sessions. I think they're really going to help you, but just really be thinking ahead, all right? All right, let me know if that was helpful to you. And you can either add a comment, right, in here, wherever you're watching it, or send me an email or a text.